Hi everybody, welcome to All Games New and Old. I am David Rodriguez, and today we're going to be reviewing The Hunger. This was published in 2021 by Renegade Games and is designed by Richard Garfield. This game is all about vampires, so we of course got our supernatural and vampire expert to come in and tell us a little about this game. Count Bakula, take it away. Ah, David, what a pleasure to see you again. You know, I had the question I wanted to ask you. Tell me, what is a vampire's favorite form of money? It's cryptocurrency! Cryptocurrency, huh? Yeah, that's great. Could you talk about the game though? Of course, let's get right to business. In The Hunger, you play as vampires. You run out of your safe castle into the town, hunting for blood. And when you get your fill, you have to run back before the sun rises and you die. To be honest, these vampires are not very good at being vampires. What do you mean? That seems reasonable. Well, what you should do is you invite every able-bodied man, woman, and child in town to a great banquet in your banquet hall. Then, when they are all there, you flood the banquet hall with a sleeping gas. You put them all into your dungeon below, and then you can feed on them whenever you want, and the people in the town are incapable of fighting back against you. Oh my god, you're really a monster. No, it's not so bad. I tell them jokes the entire time. That really only makes it worse. I think I'm just going to go to our gameplay overview and final thoughts. I hope that interview didn't suck too bad. I hope that interview was one you could really sink your teeth into.
You've been hanging out with him too much.
I have to interview these people. It's not my fault that they sometimes influence me a little. He's got like the vampire hypnotism.
Yeah, nice try.
Thing ridiculous. Anyway, let's talk about The Hunger. So this is a deck building game that also has a good push your luck element. So in it, you start with a deck of cards that has mainly all vampiric powers. You also each start with a mission, which is just going to be something that'll usually give you some kind of bonus to work towards as the game goes on. And you're basically trying to go out along this path away from the castle where you're safe, out through the cemetery, then through the mountains, then through the plains, and then up into the forest, and maybe eventually ending in the labyrinth. And along the way, you're going to be hunting humans. So you're going to use your the one resource you have in the game, which is speed, to hunt humans off of the market area, which basically just has 3 columns. And so if they're in that first column, anything in there costs 3. The next column, anything costs 2, and after that, anything costs 1.
Yeah, and your speed does everything. It's your movement and your hunting power. Mm-hmm. So you have to do your movement first. Is also another key. So whatever you do, you have to do your movement. Well,
you do your draw and your discard.
Yeah,
but
for your hand, when you're playing your hand, you have to do your movement first. So you can't be like, oh, well, I'm going to hunt this person and then go to this place. So you have to kind of balance how many spaces you're going to move based off of what card you might want to try and hunt, or what card you want to hunt.
Absolutely. So the humans that you hunt, they each have like a little victory point total up in their corner, like in a little blood drop. And so as you get them, you'll gain victory points and move along the victory point track. You can also use your hunt ability to get familiars, which are just little animal companions that will eventually come out and stay in front of you until something makes you discard them.
And the familiars also have a special rule called ready, where when you get them, you can decide if you want to put them in your discard pile or on top of your draw pile. And so it's handy because then you get that power kind of right away on your next turn. But this game has a small hand count. It's only 3 cards. And as you get more humans, they're going to block you being able to move. So only having really 2 cards to possibly move and hunt, there's a little bit of trade-off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you gotta really decide if you want to get the familiar with the humans or the vampire powers, which are also on that board, which can give you all kinds of abilities that might help your movement or might help you hunt more, or there's all kinds of different things. But as you were saying, as you get those humans into your hand, they're good because that's what gives you your victory points. But when they come out into your hand, you have to play everything that you get in your hand. They don't give you any movement at all. The only ones that do are ones that move you in ways that you may not want to move. Like there's ones that are confused, and so you have to move 4 spaces away from the castle. Great if you're heading away from the castle. Not so great if you're trying to get back in the 15 turns you have to, because as we all know, nighttime is 15 turns long, always. And if you don't get back into a certain safe area before dawn, it doesn't matter how many points you've gotten, you'll lose. So you have to be sort of careful. And there's 4 different types of humans. They are
townspeople. There are townspeople, clerics, guardsmen, and noblemen.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's a terminology, but that's basically what they are. And for each type, there's like one spot on the board that you can go and you can digest them. So if you go there and you have one in your hand in your discard pile, you can then take it out and put it in your digest area. So you still get any bonuses you get at the end of the game for having caught those people or hunted those people, but they no longer show up in your hand, which is great, especially if you have one that makes you move in a way that maybe you don't want to move. But either way, it at least gets them out of your hand so you can maybe do a little more moving, because especially as the game goes on, you're going to need to move. I feel like there's more rewards the further you go on that track, but if you don't make it back, it's all for naught. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
And something else to keep in mind when getting the different types of humans is there is only one spot that you can digest them. But there's basically 2 tracks, main tracks throughout the game. There's a third one down in the plains, but there's 2 main tracks, and 2 of the places to digest are on one track, and 2 of them are on the other track. And there's only there's only 3 spots where you can trade sides of the track. Mm-hmm. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. There's reasons to collect all the different types, but you also might want to be careful about it, because if you're trying to digest them, you have to kind of pay attention to what side of the track you're on.
Yeah. So as you go on, you can collect more missions for yourself if you want to. There's also, that'll give you more bonuses at the end of the game. There's also little treasure spots where you'll get a token. Some of them are face down, some of them are face up, so you may or may not know what you're getting. But they can give you like a bonus whenever you discard that item, or might give you like an ability. There's one that I really love that's the parasol. If you can get it, because it gives you basically one more turn at the end of the game, because the parasols protect you from the sunlight, to get back in. That can let you be maybe a little more daring than you otherwise would have been. And the smart thing with the push your luck thing is, like, you could choose to be down in just stay down in the plains and play it safe. You're like, oh, I'm close to the castle, I'll be fine. And that might work, but the people who are going further, every round, the turn order changes. And to make it real basic, the further you are away from the castle, the earlier you go in the turn order. So if you're being all safe down here, great. But everyone else then is going to get to hunt first. And so you may not have people you can hunt then. So yeah, you can hang back and you might get something, but it may not be the most winning strategy if everyone else is being a lot more daring than you are.
Yeah. That's one of the things with this game too, though, is that because of all the different missions that you can get, there's so many different ways that you can play this game. Mm-hmm. You can play it where I'm just going to stay in the plains area, because that's where at least 2 of the buildings are for digesting the humans. So there can be a strategy of, I'm just going to stay down here. Mm-hmm. I don't need to go up into the forest. Yeah. But there is a bonus for going up to the forest. Yeah. So depending on what missions you get, it can really change the gameplay and the strategy that you have going in.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And there's a ton of mission possibilities in that box. So, but that's pretty much the basic rundown of how the game works. So we're going to move on to art.
So I really enjoy the artwork of this game. It's kind of a modern comic book style that's a little bit more exaggerated. It almost kind of reminds me of if Tim Burton did a cartoon. Some of the characters look like they're straight from a Tim Burton movie. But I really enjoy the artwork of this. Even the familiars have cool ethereal mist or something going on with them. And the vampire powers, even though they're a little bit more toned down from the humans, they still have artwork that looks really nice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually really, really, really love the art in this game. I think every single human is unique, and they all have and the vampires as well, actually, all have like personality that you can tell just from the drawing. I mean, I think because they made it a little more exaggerated, you can get a really good sense of who these people are. I think I mentioned one of the cards you can get, your person has confusion. So like when you get them, it moves you 4 spaces away from the castle and you have to play them down. And when you draw a card, even if you don't see that bottom of some of them, you can look at them and be like, oh, that's going to be a confusion person because he looks loopy out of his skull. So I really like that. It's fantastic. Another thing to note about the art is I think they did a really good job about making sure there's a lot of different humans and vampires that have a different ethnic background. I don't know that this is supposed to take place on like normal Earth, but regardless of that, there's all kinds of different people in the game, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they do a really good job of doing diversity.
Yeah, for sure. The components in this game, I think, are really pretty dang good for the most part. The cards are a good quality. They're not like linen finish or anything, but they're perfectly good for the game, I think. I like the hunt board because you always have a number of rows equal to the number of players plus 1. And because you don't want to have like this giant board if you don't need that many, because it plays up to 6 people, so you could theoretically have up to 7 rows. It's like a modular board, so you can add pieces as you need based on the number of players you have, which is really cool. The wooden parts are nice and chunky. I like the little character tokens that you move along the board that have your character portrait on one side, and then you flip it over when you're done, so that way everyone knows that person's not moving anymore. That's all good. The only complaints I have, it's actually not been an issue for us, but I think it could be for some people, is that the board is real glossy. It is a glossy, shiny finish. And it looks nice as long as you're not playing with like an overhead light. If you're playing with an overhead light, I think that could cause a lot of glare. Luckily, our game table's over there, and there's not an overlight there, so it's fine. But I think if we were playing this on our dining room table, it might be a little bit like, oh gosh, I have to move around so I can see where the spots are, because wow, that thing could like blind someone flying in a plane above. It's it's something.
Yeah, I really enjoy the components of this game as well, but the board is something that, like, there's the glare, but then also just the board itself, even when you don't have the glare, it can still be hard to see some of the spots that you're supposed to stop on, because they kind of made it so that it blends into the road or blends into the map a little bit too much on some of the spots. So, there's some that stand out, like the well and where you get missions and stuff like that. But just kind of your general spots, which there's a lot more of. Some of them are really kind of hard to see, especially if it's far away. So I kind of wish they would have like just made them stick out a little bit more, like make them rocks or something, or road or something to make it just stand out a little bit more, so that it's a little bit clearer what spots you need to stop on. Yeah,
I mean, if either they get some bright color and put a circle around it, even though that wouldn't be as pretty looking overall, functionally, I think it would have been a lot easier to see. One thing too that I really love that I wish all games did is that every person and every familiar has a name to them. Like, all the humans are unique, but even the familiars, because there's like multiples.
Yeah, there'll be multiple familiars, but each, like, you'll have 2 rats, but they each have their own name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just really like that. It's a little touch, and it doesn't really matter technically, but we have games that don't do that at all, and it always just slightly irks me that you have these cool character-looking people or really awesome monsters, and I guess, like, oh, that's I don't know, they didn't tell us it's a thing. I don't like that. I like it when I like having names, and they named every single human and vampire and familiar in the game box, and that's quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So, really, really awesome. I'm glad they did it.
So for the theme, I think they did a really good job of incorporating the theme into this game. You have that, like, okay, at the beginning of the game, it's kind of easygoing. You have depending on what you decide that you're going to try to do in the game, you have a little bit of a pressure of, like, if you're trying to get all the way up to the labyrinth, you're going to have to kind of really try and book it. But, it's a little bit easygoing. But then, like, about 2/3 of the game in, you really start feeling that pressure of, I have to get back to the castle before I turn to dust. And the familiars and hunting the humans and the pets they might have and the power and all the powers that you can get just I think they did a really good job of incorporating vampire lore into this game.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know why. I especially like that you can do mist form. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that's a cool one. But yeah, I agree. I really like that you're going out there and you're trying to get as much hunting done as you can, and you know, maybe because you're getting greedy because you're an evil scheming vampire, you maybe spend a little more time out there than you should, and you're like, oh god, now I got to get back, and suddenly you're not even thinking about hunting. You're just trying to like scramble your best to get back. I love that it can sometimes end at the end of the game where everyone's trying to get to the castle, and because when you stop your turn on someone else's marker, you can push them either forward or back. I love it when it gets to this bottleneck at the end, and like they're like people are pushing like, get out of my way, I'm moving through. You know, they're trying to scramble to get to the castle. That's really neat. And we had a game where I think one of your characters was like one spot short of getting to the castle.
Yeah,
and she still won because of course she did. But that was really cool. You lose points basically if you don't make it all the way, and depending on what side of the board you use.
And if you make it to the castle, you get bonus points. So it's like you either get bonus points or you lose points.
Yeah.
Or you just turn to dust.
Or you die. Yeah, depending on how far out you are and which side of the board you're on, because one side it's a lot more forgiving than the other side. But yeah, I just like that. There's little like scenes that kind of play out because of how you play that I'm just like, this is so cool. Or like, I'm the vampire who has like 5 familiars, so like, I'm going to do this thing, and like, I imagine like, well, here comes my bear coming out of the thing to help me take down Olaf or whoever the heck I'm hunting. I don't know. I dig it. I think it's fun. It's not overly dark the way it's portrayed, which is nice. It's pretty family friendly for the most part. I guess, small kids who shouldn't be playing a game this.
I mean, our 6-year-old came in and like she's too young to play the game, but she helped us move our tokens around and flip them over and so that.
Yeah, she liked it. She was even trying to propose who we should hunt, which is a little disturbing when I think about it. But anyway, but yeah, it's great. I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
All right, so final thoughts for this game. The first time I played just two-handed by myself so I could get an idea of how the game flowed. And after playing, I was like, that was fun. I think I see some issues though, where like you could exploit this thing or that thing. And so we played again, and then I realized during the course of play, like, no, you can't really, no, that won't work because this other thing counteracts it and makes it so that's not an effective, like, easy way out strategy. And then I think of something else kind of like that. And every single time I thought of something that might be like a way you could break the game and exploit it, I realized, no, it's built in to this that, like, if you try to do that, it's not going to be effective unless everyone's trying to do the same thing. And then, it's up in the air from there. And I think that's brilliant. And I don't know why I thought I was going to like find flaws in a Richard Garfield game who made Magic the Gathering. He probably is a little better about figuring out how to balance card games than me. I don't know. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'm saying like, if I would spot this after a player's here, I think he probably caught it. Nonetheless, I kept thinking like, I could probably do this thing. And then I realized, nope. It's covered. He covered the bases in this. And that to me is a massive positive, especially in a game that is relatively simple to learn. There's not like a cheat, like you can't really avoid the push your luck thing too much. Like you have to take all these things into account, which I really like. I like that there's a set amount of turns for this, so you can kind of decide for yourself. Like, there's not a surprise, oh gosh, the game's now ending in 3 turns and I didn't know it was coming. Yeah. Like, it's coming. You just have to decide how far out you can get before you have to run back. I really dig that. I just, everything about it. The art's really fantastic, which I've already said, but I'm saying it again because I can't tell you how much. I just really dig the art. And every time we play it, I think every single time we play it afterwards, I was like, I really like this game. Every time. Because, dang it, I really like this game. For a little bit, I was going back and forth between an 8 and a 9. But to be honest, like, I think 9 is it. I can't poke enough holes in my liking of this to lower it to an 8. And I'm not even sure why it's not quite a 10 for me. I think I just would need to play more plays still, probably. I really want to try it at 6 players because at 4 players, it starts getting a little chaotic, especially on that run back to the castle. I really want to try 6 players, but it's just hard to do right now. But I think if it holds up at 6 players and at 2 players and at 4 players, I don't know. My opinion of this might only rise, but so far right now today it's 9, and gosh, I just don't have a lot of negatives other than the glossy board, which doesn't affect us but might affect you. I don't know. So
yeah. I also really enjoy this game. It was a lot of fun, and one of the things that I really enjoy about this game, and I really like it in general in games, is that there's so many different strategies that you can try out with this game. I think this is actually a game that like you can't just be like, okay, well I have this one strategy and I'm just going to do it every time I play it. I don't think that's going to work for you. I think because you get different missions every time and different humans and familiars, like the hunting deck grounds is different every time. Doing the same thing every time you play is not going to work out the same way every time. So you have to kind of be able, I almost think about it as a puzzle where you have to kind of adjust and figure out how you're going to play it as you're playing the game, because the game does change as you're playing. And so I really enjoy that. And I'm excited to play it some more as well. If I had to judge it just off of what we played, I would probably give it an 8, but because I'm so excited to play it more, I'm actually going to give it a 9, because I think I can't see me liking it less, and I think I'm going to like it more as we play it more. So I'm going to go ahead and bump it up and give it a 9.
Very awesome. So that's 2 9s. That's a pretty dang good score for The Hunger. And both of us are sort of optimistic that it could possibly even grow. So I am curious in a couple years, whenever we do our next top 50, if or where this thing is going to fall. I'm very, very curious. But one thing I will say too is before it came out, a lot of people were saying, oh, is this going to be a lot like Clank, because it is by Renegade. It is another push your luck deck builder. And for now, I'll just say that I think there's plenty of room in, at least in my game library, for both. But we're also going to have a video where we kind of compare them sort of head to head. Not necessarily which one is better overall for necessarily, although we might have an opinion on that. But, what might make you...
Get some differences and similarities.
Yeah. So that way, if you're trying to decide between them, you can kind of see, well, that aspect of this one sounds better than this other one. And, maybe the one that, she or I like better may not be the one that sounds better to you. So that should be coming out right alongside this video or soon thereafter. So definitely check that out. Anyway, I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, please hit like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all around the table again at All Games New and Old. Bye. Alright, I hope that interview didn't suck too bad. Alright, I hope that interview didn't totally bite. That interview is something you could really sink your teeth into.
Anyways.
Yeah, let's move on. And Speed will also let you hunt vampires. Or, nope. So that's kind of our overview. We'll move on to art. Art. Cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency. Crypt? Oh, currency! Oh, I see you made it this far. Perhaps, if you enjoyed this video, you would enjoy the companion video to this one, or perhaps this is more your speed. Either way, you should hit this button to subscribe. Pleasant dreams.